What if for the Pokédex you
Okay,
had to
okay,
catch?
okay. Shut up.
Shut up.
Everyone mute besides Kylie. Everyone mute
Wait.
besides Kylie. Okay. So basically, what happens? It goes back to the past, and so Elsa and Anna are playing with snow figures, and then their parents come in and it's like, "Hey, you guys gotta go to sleep." And then the father's like, to the girls like, "Hey, that game that you're playing reminds me of when I went to the Enchanted Forest." Like the Enchanted Forest, and like, yeah. So it tells them a story about when the father was young and his grandfather ruled Arendelle. And then they met a people in the woods, and in the woods, those people were called the. Okay, I keep forgetting. It starts with an N, so I'm just gonna say the Norwegians. And so the thing is, the Norwegians, they lived in the forest, and in the forest there was there's four spirits called it was the fire, the earth, the wind, and the water. And
Wow.
it's basically
I killed the grandpa.
okay, very
Anyway,
cool.
continue.
And then so the earth spirits, by the way, were like the kind of like earth giants, and then the fire spirits, I guess, was just like a salamander thing. And so he's like the Arendellians met the Norwegians, and then they're like, "Hey, you guys are cool, let's become friends." But the grandpa is actually very cautious of them and thinks they're dangerous and they're gonna use the powers against them. So they agree to make a dam to like cover up a river or cover up a lake in the Norwegians area. And then so once they make the dam, then they have like a festival kind of thing where they do a bunch of festivities. And so Anna and Elsa's father, he's like a boy at the time, he's there too and he's having fun. And then a war breaks out suddenly, and then they don't know, and then the father didn't know why at that time. And then so the father gets hurt because the spirits get mad and start like scaring everyone off. And then someone saves someone saves their father. And then so from there they're like, "Okay, now you guys need to go to sleep now." And then the mom also tells them or like that's the end of the story. And then the mom tells them a bedtime story, which is about a river that gives the answers to everything. And from there, then it goes to the present. And then so this whole like recently, Elsa's been hearing a siren, a kind of noise thing in her head that only she can hear. And then she's like, "Bro, what is this?" And then so okay, okay, stop laughing. Okay, so okay, and then so basically what happens is like Elsa's has been like very off character, and then Anna notices when they're doing charades and like, "Hey, you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then so when everyone else goes to sleep, are you even listening?
I am.
Okay. Can you guys shut up? Can you guys shut up? Stop talking in the chat. Stop talking in the chat. Okay, so basically, once everyone's asleep, Elsa does like a kind of like a Let It Go song, but it's called Into the Unknown. It's basically Frozen 2's version of Let It Go. And then at the end of the song, she ends up doing a big weird ice move that awakens the spirits, and like, "Hey, we're pushing everyone out of Arendelle," and they push them all out and onto the cliffs. And then so like Elsa's like, "Okay, you know," and she tells Anna that she's been hearing. Wait, should I just not say this? Should I just not? If you're gonna be like that.
Stop.
Okay. So then what happens with her? So Elsa tells Anna, it's like, "Hey, I've been hearing voices." And Anna's like, "Seriously?" And it's like, "Okay, you know what? We're gonna go find the voice." And so Anna, Kristoff, Sven go with Elsa. And it's like, "Hey, okay, we're going." And then so they leave the rock dudes, the troll dudes, to like take care of the Arendellians. And then so they go off. And then by the way, this whole time, Kristoff has been trying to get the courage to propose to Anna, and he just can't because he's just he doesn't have the courage to do it, and he like keeps goofing up and being awkward about it. Wonderful. And then so they find out, and then so I forgot to tell you, but that when the war broke out, the spirits made a mist that came down over the forest that blocked the Norwegians from interacting with the Arendelians, and so some of the Arendelians were trapped in there with the Norwegians, and so
Ah.
the Elsa and them get to the mist, and then they can only get in using Elsa's power, so they get in, and then they find the Norwegian and the Aldarian.
Aldarian?
Aldarin, Aldarin people, and then they're like, "Hey, what's good?" And then, so then from there, like, then they start chatting and whatnot, and then they find the fire spirit, which is the salamander dude who can make a bunch of purple fires, like zoom. And then so the purple salamander dude, that
Alright.
fire salamander, he also hears the sirens. Like Elsa's like, "Hey, we have something in common, so now we're friends now." And then so they keep talking, and then while they're talking, then a stone giant comes, and everyone has to hide because they're really scary and they're really big and they can like crush you. And then so when they finally pass, because like the stone giants could sense Elsa's presence, but they still didn't see her, so then they just left. And Elsa's like, "Okay, you know what? We need to leave right now. We need to go." And then so Anna and Olaf go with Elsa to venture off to go to continue finding the source, while Kristoff went off with one of the Norwegian dudes who like is also a reindeer person. And he's like, "Hey, I can help you try to propose with the reindeer." And it's like, "Oh, sick, dude!" So
What?
like, so then, what happens? And then whatchamacallit? So but then Kristoff finds out that Elsa and them left, and he's like, "They ditched me." He's like, and he goes kind of to a sad boy moment. And then, he has a song where
Wonderful.
Sven is on like the enchanted wood and starts talking to him and singing. And then, and then from there, then goes to Anna and Elsa and Olaf, who find the shipwreck of the parents. And like, what is it doing here? It's like, Anna's like, it must have come in from the Dark Sea. It's like, but why would they have gone to the Dark Sea? I thought they were in the Northeast Seas or something like that. So they go in, and then so there's this compartment that's waterproof, and then they find a
Alright.
map, and they're like, every ship has it apparently. And then so then they find a map in there of where they were going, and the parents were actually trying to go to the river that the mom was telling them about the lullaby in,
Oh.
where it like because they wanted to go there to find out like why Elsa has her powers and stuff, but then they died trying to get through the Dark Sea to get to the river thing. And then Elsa's like, "Okay, we need to go there, but it's too dangerous, so I will go alone." And Anna's like, "No, we promised to go through together." And Elsa's like, "Fine," but then she backstabs her. It's like, "No, you, Olaf, you're staying." And she puts them on an ice canoe and sends them back towards the Norwegians. But then
Okay.
on the way back to the Norwegians, can you shut up? I'm trying to tell a story here. And then so basically what happens is on the way back to the Norwegians,
Alright.
Olaf
On the way back.
and Anna is like, Anna's like, "Hey, give me your arm, Olaf." She takes the arm and she like steers the canoe, the ice canoe out of the way, and then they steer off track into a river, and into the river, and then they go to the river, and then they go into like an alley of a bunch of sleeping giant rock dudes, and then so they don't awake them, and they maneuver around them, and then they get to and then they go into a cave to like that was like the only option, and the cave leads to a waterfall, so then they fall down, and then now they have to find a way out, and then it goes back to Elsa, who is at the ocean. If you watch the trailer, did you watch the trailer?
Maybe.
Okay, well now she's at the beach and she's facing the ocean. It's like, okay, she tries to go through, and then she
But
meets
she's
the
just
water
fighting
spirit.
the ocean?
No, yeah, she's basically fighting the ocean, and then she meets a water horse, which is like the water spirit that challenges her. She ends up taming it, and then from there, then she's able to ride all the way to the river, which is actually a glacier, which was frozen over. And then she goes in. She's like, "Hey, let me." And he's like, and then she has her own "Show Yourself" song.
Okay.
And then from there, it's like she's getting more powers, and then she gets a new dress, and then she
Fantastic.
finds memories again. It's like memories of like her, Anna, and their mom, and then she finds out and then it starts going to the memories of the grandpa who used to rule Arendelle, saying how, and the plots reveal that the grandpa didn't trust the Norwegians. It's like, and then they built the dam purposefully to cut off like their supply or something like that. And then it shows him about, and then like to get more answers for the memory, she goes deep down into a hole, which is actually really cold. She starts freezing over, and then sees what like happened in the grandfather's evil, and that's how that war started. And then she freezes over like how Anna did in the first movie. And then Elsa, like before she freezes, she shoots up a beam of light or snow with her hand. It's like, and yells Anna, and then she freezes over, and Anna and Olaf are in the cave, still trying to make the way out, and then the beam goes to Anna and Olaf, and then it shows like what happened like with the grandfather and the war and stuff. And then they're like, oh no, and then you know what happens? Then Olaf starts flurrying like Endgame, where like Thanos snapped, and they start dissipating, except Olaf like dissipates much slower. And then he's like, also there's something wrong, because like he's flurrying because since Elsa's like frozen. He's like, and then Anna's like, oh, I know what I have to do. He's like, they have to destroy the dam, but the thing is, if they destroy the dam, then it'll flood Arendelle and destroy all of Arendelle, and which is why the spirits push the people of Arendelle up onto the cliffs. And then I'm searching my memory. And then okay, and then Anna goes to the sleeping giants, like, hey, wake up, fools. And then she wakes them up and gets them angry, and she leads them to the dam. But then when she gets to the dam, the Arendellian soldiers who were there from before, who have been there for I think it was 34 years, trapped in that area with the Norwegians, is like, what are you doing? We swore to protect this dam. And then Anna's like, no, this is the only way to clear the mist and be able to get out of here, and like to calm the spirits. And he's like, fine. And then Anna goes onto the bridge, and then the rock giants start throwing rocks at the bridge, and the damn bridge thing breaks. But as it breaks, Anna almost falls, but don't worry, Kristoff catches her. He's like, hey, I got you. And then so then he's like, oh, we're saved. And then the water is still going to Arendelle, and as it almost reaches Arendelle, everyone's like, oh no. Elsa comes back on the water horse super quick, like zoom, and she uses her new magical ice powers that I think are just stronger than before, and like stops the water and like sends it backwards. But then I don't know how it didn't go back up the river. It kind of just evened out back to the sea level that it was at before, even when there was a dam. So I don't know how that works. But yeah, so basically that happens, and everyone's happy except for Anna, who thinks that Elsa is still dead. But then Elsa comes like, oh, yay, you're still alive. And then and then as soon as like they have the reunion, then Kristoff finally gets the courage, like, hey, will you marry me? And she's like, yes, obviously. And then so then they get married, and then what happens there is the leader of the Norwegian people is like, we could use someone like you up here, when she says to Elsa. So then Elsa becomes the leader of the Norwegian people, and then they anoint Anna, or appoint, or they make Anna the queen of Arendelle. And then they use the power, and then everyone's friends with the spirits, and then the spirits they name the wind Gale, and so Gale can send messages between Anna and Elsa. And then yeah, and then so they have this thing where every Friday night they meet for charades. And yeah, that's the end.
Why?
By the way, I explained this whole plot to Ryan just earlier. So yeah, okay.
Zero out of
I'm
10.
done recording.